All right, welcome. We are live with English. English is a little nouner. We put together this sort of very quick episode. We're going to go over the prop that Index Card and I are working on, and I'm going to get some feedback right here live. So we'll get into it right on the other side of this quick intro. All right,
Very cool.
GM English. I got
GM.
English. English at English NFT EA, right?
Correct.
Let me just make sure we get your info up there right here. You are, is that a lint ball or what
It's
is
a
that?
limp ball, yeah, absolutely.
I love the lint ball.
No.
Yeah. So, yeah, just kind of want to run through. It sounds like you already kind of read or you saw the Al episode.
It
Uh,
was on my Twitter feed and it intrigued me. I saw that intro. I thought it was very cool. What is it, Mario 3?
heck yeah.
All right, hell yeah. Yeah, I was born in 81. A little doxing of myself, but not too much. So I'm pretty familiar with all that good OG nostalgia. But yeah, so I saw there you kind of went over some of like the traits, like and what resonated with him. I think I had to get going, so I only caught the first 15 minutes. But yeah, go ahead with the whole, I guess, pitch or elevator pitch or whatever you got going.
Yeah, real quick. I mean, it's what it is Index Card and I we're creating a season of live stream content.
Okay.
So it's going to be kind of a cohesive season. And we're doing the first half kind of on spec, like just for free, no comp. And basically, we've done the pilot and a couple episodes, and we're basically about here. Like we're about, I'd say, halfway between here and the cliffhanger. So the cliffhanger is we're going to go on chain at Lil Nouns with the prop. And then if that passes, if we kind of get over that hurdle, then we're going to go on to the season finale, and it's all going to be sponsored by Lil Nouns, and it's going to be sort of a season of live stream content.
Okay. Is little index in the trunk of your two-door convertible in this imagery?
You know, he's got such a big head that he didn't fit in the car, so kind of just smashed through the back. And he likes the fresh air,
Okay.
but there's not enough room in this little car for the two of us.
Yeah, it looks like a little Miata, and you didn't want to have him riding in the front seat, in the passenger seat, so you threw him on the rack there. But yeah,
So yeah, I mean, you want to see the mood board or kind of the season outline, or do you have any
I
questions?
do. But before we go with that, I guess so. Who is your intended person to watch this? So like, I know when I think of the little noun show, for instance, and content creators in general, it's like we're kind of geared towards Twitter just because that's where you have to be. I was watching a small snippet of someone that I know who does and has been doing content for NFTs for like a year, maybe a little bit longer than that, and he does it primarily on YouTube. It was kind of like pointing out how like even on YouTube, like the top people get maybe like 10,000 people, which obviously is not bad, but when you compare it to like any other type of collectible or gaming or whatever, it's like these minuscule numbers. So being that this is StreamYard, I know it streams to Twitter and a few other places. What is your main demographic of people? Is it inside little nouns? Is it across pollination of non-little nouns and NFT people? Is it non-NFT people getting into maybe potentially NFTs through onboarding of a friend and then they refer them to this? What's the scope? What's the net that you're trying to cast?
Yeah, so that's like the heart of this part of what makes this difficult, and that's like you zoomed right in on it. So we're open really to feedback. I mean, right now we sort of see a kind of a couple different audiences. So one is we think of it as long tail content that will kind of be there forever. And so all of it's going to be CC0, and it's going to be kind of a continuous story.
Okay.
So instead of it being like a one-off episode with like a guest, there's sort of a through plot line. And the plot line, kind of our goal is to sort of tell the little noun story, enhance little nouns. So our audience is potentially anyone kind of newer to nouns, newer to little nouns, who wants sort of accessible content, but sort of deeper content, that sort of really can explore the stuff instead of just sort of surface level things. Now we do know that we need to kind of remix and do shorter form and maybe like YouTube shorts or TikTok. We're open to that, but all we can do right now is sort of produce the grand story, the big scale story, and then we'll add in some editing and cutouts later. Although maybe that has to be part of the prompt because Mike said that too.
Okay.
What do you think?
Well, I think the thing that stood out to me the most is the being some kind of content that um is in a long standing where people can, listen to it again, watch it again, kind of like if it's even podcasts are kind of like that. Like if you're like on iPod or even Spotify, like when I started listening to Joe Rogan, was towards, like a couple years ago, really, even though I know so I had checked out some of his stuff. So that makes it a little bit more interesting to me that it's not just, as opposed to like a Twitter Spaces, which I do, which I'll probably keep referencing just because that's what I'm most familiar with in terms of these NFTs kind of things. Even though we have archived, we are switching to, and have audio, and we've edited a lot of things for future risk putting onto podcasts. I guess having like this visuals dynamics to it gives it a certain kind of stickiness where somebody can go and maybe just say, okay, like someone can say, hey, listen, you should check these out if they have some questions, and maybe they'll get you a little bit more familiar, and then somebody can go through them at their leisure and not have to be at a certain time and place. So that's the first thing that came out to me. The second thing is I kind of want to see where the rest of this goes, because I feel like I kind of preempted a lot of your pitch here, just to understand that, and maybe we got off a little bit. So I'm open. I like the idea so far, and I want to see where it goes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm mainly interested in kind of your thoughts. Um, oops. Okay. So one more thing that I'll get your feedback on is, so what we have in mind a season finale of our season, right? So we don't know exactly how many episodes there will be, but we do know like our season finale is basically going to be this. So let me find the card. Yeah, so season finale is going to be a live stream that happens during the last hours of our vote on chain at nouns.
Okay.
So basically, the second half of the season is Index Card and I are going to figure out how to build a prop for nouns, get it on chain, and then kind of campaign and do it all in the public. And then the last episode, basically, like either, we're going to win, we're going to lose, like something's going to happen, and we're going to do a live stream and see what lessons we learn from it.
Okay, I like that as well, because I think somebody can learn a lot from that. I guess before we get to that part of it, obviously there should be content that builds up to that. And I think the first one was, I feel like kind of very similar, even though I didn't watch it in entirety, so correct me if I'm wrong, to like your first of like, this is my Lil with Al. Like you asked him about his microwave. It's kind of like an Al interview, and Al is a pretty key figure in Little Nouns, and rightfully so. Like what would be like the second? Are these all interviews of like key members, like whether it's SQ or Mike Good, where you're getting to get to know like some key members in Little Nouns, or is there any other kind of not interview style stuff?
Yeah, so it's in flux, but basically we've outlined 10 or 12 episodes here. And so like season, episode 1 was we did visual design with Boop, and then the second one we did this episode with Al. But like for number episode 3, this is going to be me and Index Card campaigning for our prop. So it's
For
going to
your prop.
except for our little prop.
Yeah.
So like we might go on spaces, we might have people on stream, but it's going to be all about like, hey, how do you pass a vote? And I remember like when you were running Little Noun Show props, you proactively reached out and DM'd me. And if you hadn't done that, like I probably wouldn't have voted.
Correct.
You kind of took that initiative. And so like we're just going to kind of live stream us doing that
Yeah.
for episode 3.
Yeah, that's a kind of a key part. And to make the distinction, that's prop house, little prop house, as opposed to the season finale, which would be on chain, correct? So making that distinction.
Yeah, so this is going to be campaigning for the Lil prop. That's the prop you're giving feedback on right now
Yeah.
on the season.
I
But
think the mechanics are a little bit the same in terms of like getting out there and soliciting votes for people that you've built relationship with and you think might vibe with your initiative and believe that you can actually deliver the product. I don't know if I reached out to you for our prop house. I don't think I knew you then. I don't think you were in the DAO quite yet. It was for the on-chain one that we did that I definitely reached out to you in DMs. We failed our prop house actually, and I think a lot of people from what I've seen tend to fail a lot of prop houses before they get something on chain. When we did our prop house, it was right off of there was this guy Zach Radio, and he had just failed. He had like a thing going on with rug radio, and he had like a segment cut out, and he had like what we all I guess determined was a very high ask, and he hadn't really built up social capital. And to be fair, we hadn't really built up too much social capital, which is why we went to prop house first before going on chain. And what happened, yeah, we went on prop house, we failed and by fail I mean I think we were like the first runner up. I think there was like maybe 5 spots and we came up 6, but it was for just a pilot, and it was for 1 month, and I think it was very like minimal amount in terms of funding or anything like that. And after we failed, what we did is we did it anyways, and it turned out to be quite a success, or people at least received it well. And we actually got little funding to retroact this, and then that's when we started our campaign for on chain, and it's been in existence ever since. Did I lose you? I see both of you are muted, and
oh yeah, I'm here.
There we go. All right, I think you were just muted.
Yeah, I mean our idea is kind of this whole first half of the season we're doing like totally on spec. We're not getting paid for.
Sure.
But yeah, the whole point is we're going to build a prop. We're going to go on chain. So anyway, yeah, I mean, are you inclined? Like, what would cause you not to vote for this? I mean, I think you know my work, but obviously the DAO's in a different place. Like, are you still voting? How could I earn your vote?
Well, I think I don't know if I'm the best example. You have my vote. I mean, the fact that I'm here. I think um so here's, and it might be a hot take or not. Like, I don't really know that I fund ideas per se. I fund people that I believe in. When I think about this, I've always been a proponent of this, that I've made this analogy before. I had to actually shut down my restaurant, but that's neither here nor there. But I say, because I used to say, hey, I'm in the restaurant business. If somebody came up with like this phenomenal idea of this restaurant and I thought it was great, but I don't think that you could really execute it well, I wouldn't really invest on it. But if somebody came out with like just like a pragmatic idea of a restaurant, it wasn't anything novel, but the location was good, the team was good, he just needed some runway, or he or she, and they had a proven track record. I thought they were hungry, they were a go-getter. They managed people well. They whatever I'm looking for, and the idea itself wasn't phenomenal. That's who I vote for. And so you're somebody in the DAO who has supported me, but I've also seen your work before, and also you rallying the troops when you had, I guess, like funding difficulties with, what was the name? What's the name of your little sniping tool? I'm sorry,
A little block party, baby.
yeah, little block party, and your team, being more tech people and engineers were frustrated because they're like, this is a great product, it should be there, and you rallied and held, handheld them. And so I believe in you as a builder and the fact that you've put this all together, and I'd like to see where you could go with it. So I can think of a few people that I feel like are more about pitching that they should be able to deliver something and being vocal, and I'd probably not vote for them just because. I mean, I would, but I think you're very careful about what you actually plan to put out, and unless you were able to deliver it, you're not going to pitch it out there. So that's me being 100%, forthright that and maybe that goes to show a little bit something where social capital goes a long way, and how you move in this space, how you move in the Little Nouns Discord, um, not overreaching. I think a lot of people just go on prop house as much as they can, and just hoping something sticks. And I mean, that's one way to do it, and at least it's more than maybe some people who don't shoot their shot. But I do think that you're somebody that really thinks of like a niche or something to provide value, and then you go full force. So you have my vote, and hopefully that translates to other people's.
Man, really appreciate that. Um, that is extra special coming from a ball of lint with sunglasses.
I didn't choose the lint. The lint chose me.
Do you know the number of that one?
I don't. And the reason I don't know the number, but I could pull it up real quick. Um, it was pretty simple. The reason you haven't asked me, but I'm going to tell you how I got this lint ball, since the story of the lint has never been told. Here, hold on, let me look this up here. Oh, lint head, where are you? Going through all the junk in my folder. 2765. Mr. Panda, are you still with me? I see you clicking about 2765.
Yeah, I got it. I got it. I'm going to be dropping it in here because you are definitely part of the season now.
All right.
Do
So
you
I
know
rescued this lint ball.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got you here on our episode card. I mean, it sounds like basically I can count on support
Yes.
as long as reasonable ask, right? I mean, you wouldn't vote yes for me if I asked for 500 ETH.
Correct.
Yeah. But basically, you're not too concerned about specific deliverables.
No, I think it's nonsense. I think when you start pushing people for certain things, well, it just depends. So like, there's some people that don't think about it that well. If it was somebody that just, I mean, I have examples in my head. I'm not going to use them. But I'm trying to to be tactful here. So there's certain people that they just feel like the overarching idea is enough, and they haven't put too much thought on deliverables. I know about you in general that's not the case. I can tell by this layout right here and all the notes that you're taking that that's not the case for you, and it hasn't been the case historically. So I think I'd give you definitely a few other people I can think of some extra leeway on top of that. Like, I don't need to go through and cherry pick what you're doing. I'd like to see, this is great, but I'd like to see 5 short forms added to each episode, and you trying to um, leverage those on TikTok, even though TikTok gets no NFT things. But I just want you to see you do it. Like, it's unnecessary for me. I'd rather you just do well with what you have. Maybe this particular product doesn't do well, or it doesn't have the same outcome that you want, but you learn something that you'll do later on. And yeah, I don't have any. That's not my nature. It's not my nature to cherry pick something that I'm already kind of in favor of for. I not necessary. Okay, yeah, you're okay. That was an example. By all means, if you want to go ahead and do that, and if you want to do like the latest dance craze for little nouns and dance on TikTok. Actually I might add that to the deliverables. You have to do a new dance TikTok craze for little nouns if you want my vote.
This is a concept short that Index has been working on here.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I just come in here out of nowhere, but I kind of agree on the shorter form content. I think right now at this point of nouns in general and like our journey, that's where we're gonna get most of our views, maybe most of our traction. And so last night I was playing around with like a more portrait format, a way to share like little clips, make them fun. So this was just like my first concept here on the screen.
Which one?
This little owl.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
If you could see it,
I
yeah.
can see it.
Not a real quote, but in my mind, we have the quote playing in the background that we pulled from the stream. Maybe the text is kind of running through. This was just like first iteration, but I kind of agree with you on the short form content. Panda and I have gone back and forth because it's quite a bit more work for us and something we haven't necessarily either done too much of in the past, but I think we kind of have to lean into it.
My take is that if you got, well, he asked specifically, like, do I have to add a deliverable? And then I thought of a deliverable that to give an example of one. And so, for instance, like I feel like if you guys want to do well and you guys have put all this time, energy, you guys will do that naturally, whether I ask you to write that on the prop or on the on-chain proposal. And so I don't know if I need that as somebody that's, the question was, if he came to me asking for my vote, would I need something further from him, like asking for deliverables? And I said that I'm not necessarily inclined to do it. Like I feel like between both you guys, if whatever you had done, you said you were going to do well, that would be enough. Would I actually go one step further to say, even though I haven't put the research that you guys have, here's something that you have to deliver for me to give you my vote? I'm not saying it's a bad idea to add the deliverable, and in fact, I actually think it is a good idea. But I wouldn't need it to garner my vote.
So funny. Sorry, I had to step out for a minute, but I'm just remembering that English. I kind of had this conversation with you where I said, "Hey, you should think about doing shorts for the little now."
Yeah, that was your ask, and I did it for you.
Yeah. So I'm kind of feeling bad, but yeah, I've kind of come around to your view.
Yeah. I mean, look, so those little snippets were kind of hot for a while. I learned doing them. They're cool. Maybe I'll use them in the future. The one thing that we haven't released from the Little Noun Show and that we have been putting together are edited versions of our shows, and they'll be uploaded to like Spotify or whatever platform, the Apple iPod stuff. So we have everything archived. We've been working with somebody who we've paid. And they're the one editing. We'd have like a little intro, so they'll be kind of like what you're saying, like some for here, some archived material that if somebody comes in and is like, oh, we should have shows with other communities and stuff, and someone's like, oh, actually we've had Cyber Brokers, Zeneca, we've had whomever, Moonbirds and Ryan Carson, all that stuff. Oh, really? I'd love to listen to one of those. All right, go ahead here, and they can go ahead and listen to it. So we do have we are working on that. I know the show's not about us, but just giving an example that really wasn't in any of our things, but we want to improve our show as much as possible. So anytime that there's an opportunity for that, we add stuff. And so a lot of it was from feedback from people like yourselves. I just make the distinction of, do I need that in my prop written or on the on-chain proposal to garner my vote? No. I think there's certain people, like I think it was you that started it, or maybe somebody else, the long-term games with long-term people type of stuff. So there's certain people that I've made no I haven't hidden the fact that I tend to vote for people that I believe in. Obviously I think they have to have a decent concept that has value to it. But I'd like to give people that I believe in the benefit of the doubt. So I like the fact you have this on. It's I feel like you're a lawyer building up a case against me when it comes time for me to deliver my vote.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like on profile they have my picture. You have the quote.
Well, no, I mean the reason is we really do need to do short form, and we're just we're kind of using this to kind of force us to do it.
Yeah. What's cool, like if you could do with little nouns in short form, I know that, and not necessarily to copy anybody specifically, but like what they do with like their short form in like Instagram and stuff like that is they don't really relate anything to the NFT or the culture. They just have like maybe a picture of one of their NFTs and it's like saying either like an inspirational quote, or it'll have like some like funny tagline and stuff. So I think that's kind of what you need to do is not think about the DAO, not think of anything. It's just how can these little creatures that are cool, that are unique, that are a little bit absurd, um, garner interest to somebody's interest level. And then later on, they're like, oh, well, this is actually a collection of this that exists on blockchain crypto technology. And then maybe that makes a little bit, go, hmm. And then they keep, delving into it. And then they're like, oh, there's a whole bunch of people that hang out and build stuff and potentially get paid, for creating content and infrastructure for this organization. And you're like, hmm. So, kind of Trojan horsing the people into it by entertainment.
I think that really well summarizes what we're trying to do. And it's like we're trying to introduce story, like a through story and narrative where, you know, I think, everyone in Lil Nouns kind of knows Will Price. We don't know if he's going to vote for us. Like, we're going to try.
Mhm.
I want Will's vote. But without Will's vote, I mean, we might not pass. Yeah.
I mean, that's potentially true. I've seen many things pass without Will's vote. We don't. Are you saying for the prop house, or are you saying for the on chain?
Yeah. So this is we're going on chain at Little Nouns, and we got to do a better job explaining this.
Yeah. So the on chain at Little Nouns, we haven't gone to dynamic quorum yet, have we? Because that'll be much more difficult if Will decides to nuke things. I know that there's, like, for instance, you talked about, reaching out, whether it's in DMs or private discords or wherever you can to get the ear of a voter and how that's important. I don't know if lobbying is the right word, but whatever. I know, for instance, Blooms is big on that. He hits up everybody, to do it. And so he was able to get a lot of things passed by sheer will, really. I think the little nouns show, just again, just using this because I know the metrics off the top of my head, we had like the most unique voters for like any type of prop in like 7 months, something like that. And then maybe about I don't know, I think it was just then about a month later, or maybe a month and a half later, Blooms beat that by actually quite a bit. And he had almost not no large, but he didn't have a lot of the large block voters, and he was just able to get a lot. So your personal relationships, like you mentioned before, and reaching out to individual people. I kind of feel like it's been a downtime in the DAO in terms of activity, but also there's been a lot of people who haven't there haven't been as many on-chain props recently as there was during like that flurry and before. The general sentiment was that, hey, we need to pump the brakes a little bit on spending. And then because of like that sentiment, there was a lot of things that got defeated. And then after that, there's been less there. Yeah. So here we go. So a little noun. So if you click on that, if you look at the unique voters, yeah, and the only like, yeah, we had, what is this is here? Okay, so we had, so the Reds against, so Will Price is the big one. I think we only had two or three other people against. Who can you go against to see who was against?
It was 52 total voters, 4 against, 48 for.
Okay, so two of them are Will Price, the big one, so and Wallet named Wallet. So yeah, I think he Will Price voted for multiple wallets. I'm not sure all four of them or five, six of them or whatever it was, but I know that two of them were definitely Will Price. my gut feeling would be that for the average person, so this is kind of how I look at this prop from what I gather right now. I'd like to say obviously see more is that does this provide immediate value at the moment for the DAO? And I think some people might be inclined to say no. I think that might be a challenge. I think this is the type of thing that adds value if the DAO continues to do well. It provides more support, more outreach, um, and in a long-term type of manner. And I could be way off base here. I'm just thinking of some potential hurdles. I think there might be some people that are saying, "Hey, listen, if there's not an immediate ROI in terms of actual money or attention," because I am somebody of the ilk that I believe that even if something doesn't have immediate ROI in terms of revenue, as long as you can keep building up attention to this project and to the builders, that will eventually do that. And you want to keep that momentum up because the moment that it starts going down, you're in a losing battle. So can this bring eyes on the project immediately, as opposed to building something that will strengthen the DAO, in terms of whether it's somebody that came in and is new and they're understanding it. That might be a little bit of a challenge because I think people are a little bit more um, just being conservative of where the money goes, and so it's something that we've thought at the Little Noun Show when we go on chain again in terms of ask what's reasonable. In fact, that's what we've always done. We've always actually tried, even when spending was a little bit on the higher side. I won't name names of props, but people getting paid, crazy amounts. And maybe it's not that unusual in nouns where people, to make the distinction, big nouns where people are paid 2 or 3 times like the normal market value for something just because they can. And that happened in little nouns for a little while. We like to think that we never did that. Um, but even the fact that we feel that we've been conservative, we always tried to be as lean as possible. So I don't know what the ask for is, and I don't know how other people will receive this in terms of yet another type of content or media um, type of prop, but we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's kind of content documentary, but also entertainment and record keeping. It's a whole mix. I mean, off the top of your head, kind of a gut feeling. If we get on chain, I mean, the scope of the work really is we go on chain at Little Nouns, plus we go on chain at Nouns. We do all the work, we do all the streams. Probably like 20 hours of live stream content, plus all the work in between. I mean, what do you think we should be asking for? What's ballpark fee?
Before I answer that, let me ask this: what is the idea of leveraging up to big nouns, and how could you gain their attention? I know that Index Card, you're a nouns holder, correct?
Yeah, I have one noun.
Yeah. So outside of you being a holder, is it just kind of like where people build something for one DAO and then it's a hit, and then they want to build it for the other DAO in a different instantiation, but with a similar proposition?
I don't know if Panda wants to give us thought, but we aren't necessarily building the same thing for both DAOs. At least that's not really how I see it. Because what we're building for littles is kind of like it can't really necessarily be recreated in big nouns because it's all about being a little and bridging two nouns. So I don't know if it's necessarily the same thing. Like we haven't discussed at all yet, I don't think, at least, what our actual nouns prop is, and it's maybe similar in content, but like not in content, but in style, like live stream.
Sure.
But the actual content could potentially completely different, I guess.
Yeah, so and going back to Panda's, thank you for answering that. To go back to Panda's question, what do I think is a reasonable ask? I don't know. I don't know. You said, 10 episodes. How long does that go for? You said 20 hours of live streaming content. So I have some kind of measurables. I think really realistically, you have to look at it in terms of maybe what market value is, and that's going to take into account things like similar stuff, whether it was the newsletter, the little noun shows, other types of like media marketing stuff, and then also the size of the treasury at the moment. It's kind of been going sideways. Unfortunately, just getting paid market value depends on the sentiment of, are we being conservative or liberal with our spending, and how much spending is there. I don't know if I feel comfortable throwing out a number. Um, I know that if I saw something in there, I could feel if it was high. So if you had a number in mind, I could tell you if that felt high, low, medium. It's hard for me to put a number on the value of somebody's time and work. Um, so so yeah.
Yeah, and we've gone back and forth on this, but I don't know. I mean, something like 12, 15 ETH, something like that in the range to split. Al's kind of really pushing us to go higher and higher, and price in it's unique work. It's there's a premium. It can go away at any time, and to price it so that we don't really kind of begrudge making the stuff. But we're still kind of, I think, figuring it out for ourselves. I'll let Index Card answer if he has thoughts. I mean, you kind of want to go lower, huh?
No, I think that's probably around there, 10 to 15 for 20. That it's probably sounds about right. Um, so here's my thinking. If I'm being 100% candid, I've always been on the Little Noun show a little bit more towards leaning to fund a little bit us higher. Um, Cardno in April has always been the more reasonable one and says, hey, it's better that, we go a little bit conservative and we keep the show alive, which we love doing and we think it provides value and is a comfortable pass. So we've always aired on the medium to low side of what we thought the range was. I think that Al's advice is prudent. You don't want to put something where you in itself don't feel that you've put in too much time, energy, and ultimately a product, which is the most important part, that is underpriced, where it's not worth it to you and your time. But I'm somewhere of the person that would think that um, keeping it moderate but keeping it comfortable is probably a good ask. I would say, potentially, yeah, if it merits it. I think it'd be tough to go over 15, to be honest. That's my gut feeling, and I could be 100% off base. Um, Trying to think, 20 hours of work. Is it 20 hours of live streaming?
I mean, I think it'll probably end up being about that much.
Mhm.
But there's probably 3 or 4 hours of work for every hour of
Oh,
life.
trust me. No, yeah, that was going to be my next question. Yeah, because everyone thinks that we do a 1 hour show and then that's it. But outside of harassing people to get them to come on and then coordinating with their team and then sending them a series of questions that they say is okay, and then no, I don't want to talk about this, and yeah, there's definitely a lot more hours throughout the week that leads up to it. So yeah, I get that part. I was just trying to get a scope of the surface layer, what the people would be seeing, and then I could always assume that there's probably 2 to 3 times that. So if there's 20 hours of content, there's probably about 60 hours of work.
Yeah, he. Speaking of which, Cardno, shout out Cardno. Gonna chat with him tomorrow on the stream. Would love to do a crossover, kind of a double show, or be a guest on your show. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, yeah. How do we get booked on the Little Noun Show?
When do you want to come on?
I'm thinking probably pretty soon. Like I'd say when we're on chain.
Okay. You know how you do it? You just did it, my friend. It's done.
Yeah.
You will be our nounish builder for the second segment of our show, which for anybody who's watching, we have a 1 hour show. Usually the first half an hour is reserved for an outside uh, leader of a different community that has either some parallels. What we don't have anything strict. It doesn't have to be CC0. It doesn't have to be nouns. I'm sorry, CC0 and DAO rather. If it has those two components, great. If it's just CC0, that's fine. If it's just DAO, that's fine. If it has neither of those two, but maybe they're like an on-chain project and that they felt that being on-chain was important and the underlying tech resonates with Some people in the DAO that builds tech, we think that that's interesting. So anything that's either relevant directly to the nouns DAO or adjacent to, we try to incorporate. We won't do just like a regular line project, PFP centralized project that has nothing in common outside being an NFT project. We try to stay away from that. And then so we'll have that guest, and that with our hopes that is a cross pollination of both communities, and maybe some people from Lils will be interested in their project, and vice versa. Some of the people in their project end up becoming interested in our project. And then the second half would be where you would be invited to go in, and that's anybody in the little nouns, or any sub DAO, anything that they're building, and they want to bring some more eyes on that, or maybe they've already done it and it's not about getting votes, but they just want more eyes on what they've actually delivered. And that's a chance to kind of celebrate them and showcase them. So yeah, happy to have you, Panda.
Yo, that sounds like a dope side quest. I'm definitely going to do that. Index. It's been overworked. I think making pixelated characters, but you're welcome to come. Index. When can you remind me again which day and time the show is?
So we do Monday 6 p.m. Eastern.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. And you're saying maybe this month. I mean, are you talking like we could go on this next Monday in 2 days, or are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm good. I'd have to just double check. I don't think we have a nounish builder. Is my belief. So even if that's the case, if you want to come this Monday, we usually do have room for 2 at least. But yeah, Monday should work. I'll get back to you, but like I'm 95% sure you're good to go if you want to do that this Monday. Yeah, 2 days.
Sweet. Yeah, so let's for sure book that offline. Man, I just feel like it was a really good call, English. I really appreciate your feedback. I appreciate your support.
Yeah, happy to help.
Is there anything I can do for you? Anything I can help you with?
Not that I can think of in the moment, but I'll keep that in mind, and if something comes around, I'll be happy to reach out, and thank you for offering. It's very kind of you.
Sweet.
Are we wrapping this up?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. I enjoyed this. This is pretty well put together. It's pretty on brand for a Panda project, so I wouldn't expect anything less. And yeah, excited to see what you guys come up with.
Thank you. I appreciate all the insight. Really useful. I know I kind of just came in here and listened for most of it, but yeah, we're definitely going to take the feedback and synthesize it in our own little way.
All right. Fantastic.
Sweet. All right. We'll keep building. We'll see you back here on stream. Maybe later this weekend, maybe next week. We're going to keep building. Thanks.
All right. Have a good one. Take care, guys.
GM Index.
All right. How are you?